Dr. Arun Patel, a dedicated veterinarian, could never have imagined that his routine would be disrupted by an encounter that would challenge everything he thought he knew about the connection between humans and animals. On a seemingly ordinary morning, he found himself face to face with a giant in agony, a lone elephant whose silent tears hid deep pain. What happened next was not just an act of healing, but a testament to the transformative power of compassion, capable of transcending species barriers and touching the very essence of wildlife. Dr. Arun Patel started the engine of his Jeep. The fresh morning air carried the distinctive scent of the Indian jungle, and as the vehicle moved along the park's winding trails, Arun let his thoughts wander. He remembered how, as a boy, he dreamed of working with animals. Now, more than a decade after joining the park team, each day brought a new excitement, a new challenge. His experienced eyes constantly scanned the landscape, looking for signs of distress among the animals he had sworn to protect. The park was slowly waking up. A flock of peacocks crossed the road ahead, their iridescent feathers shining in the golden light of dawn. In the distance, a spotted deer watched warily before disappearing into the dense vegetation. Arun smiled, enjoying the serene beauty of this natural world. Rounding a sharp bend, Arun suddenly hit the brakes. His heart skipped a beat when he saw an imposing figure in the middle of the path, a lone Asian elephant. The gray giant remained completely still, as if it were part of the landscape itself. Years of experience set off alarm bells in Arun's mind. Elephants were rarely alone, and even less so, remained static for so long. Intrigued and worried, he decided to wait and watch. He turned off the engine and grabbed his binoculars, focusing on the majestic animal. The minutes dragged by, turning into an hour, then 2. The sun climbed the sky, but the elephant did not move. Not a flick of the ears to ward off flies, not a flick of the tail, nothing. Arun's uneasiness grew with each passing moment. Something was definitely wrong. In his mind, he went over everything he knew about elephant behavior. These intelligent and social animals rarely strayed from their prides. When they did, it was usually due to illness or injury. But this elephant showed no visible signs of injury. What could be causing such unusual behavior? With each passing minute, Arun felt an urgency to act growing within him. His work ethic compelled him to help, but his experience warned him about the dangers of approaching a potentially stressed wild elephant. Internal conflict consumed him as he continued to watch, waiting for any change in the situation. Finally, after hours of silent observation, Arun made a decision. I couldn't just walk away and leave the animal in that state. Summoning all his courage and experience, he decided to approach. With his heart hammering in his chest, he started the engine and drove slowly forward. The noise of the Jeep broke the silence of the jungle, making the elephant raise its head. His eyes met Arun's, and at that moment, the vet saw something that left him astonished. Tears. Thick tears flowed from the animal's eyes, leaving dark trails on its rough skin. The sight touched Arun deeply. In all his years of working with wild animals, he had never witnessed such a clear display of emotion in an elephant. In that instant, he knew he was standing before something extraordinary, a moment of unique human-animal connection that would forever change his perspective on wildlife. Time seemed to freeze as Arun gazed at the suffering elephant. The magnitude of the situation hit him with full force. He was faced with a majestic creature, a living symbol of the strength and wisdom of nature, reduced to a state of pain and vulnerability so profound that he was brought to tears. Without hesitating for another second, Arun picked up his radio and called the emergency medical team. His voice, normally calm and collected, trembled slightly as he described the situation to his colleagues. He knew that every minute was precious. While waiting for reinforcements to arrive, Aaron decided to get even closer. With slow, deliberate movements, he climbed out of the jeep, his eyes never leaving the elephants. He spoke softly, using a tone that over the years he had learned to calm frightened or injured animals. "It's okay, friend," Aaron murmured, taking a careful step towards the giant. "I'm here to help. You're not alone anymore." To his surprise, the elephant did not show aggression. On the contrary, he seemed relieved by the human presence. His eyes, large and expressive, followed Aaron's every movement, as if begging for help. Aaron continued approaching, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew the risks. An injured or frightened elephant could become extremely dangerous in a matter of seconds. But something about this particular animal, perhaps the deep sadness in its eyes, told Aaron he could trust. Finally, the vet was just a few feet away from the elephant. Up close, he was able to better observe his condition. The animal's normally robust skin appeared sagging in places, suggesting dehydration. His fangs, which were supposed to be a symbol of strength, looked worn and dull. But what caught Arun's attention the most was the elephant's posture. Even to the untrained eye, it was clear that the animal was in great discomfort. Its huge body seemed hunched over, as if it was trying to protect itself from invisible pain. Slowly, Arun circled the elephant, looking for more concrete signs of what might be ailing the animal. That's when he noticed something on the elephant's back, a swollen, reddened area that looked extremely tender. "An abscess," Arun muttered to himself, feeling a mixture of relief at having identified the problem and concern at the seriousness of the situation. Abscesses in elephants could be extremely dangerous if left untreated, leading to systemic infections and, in extreme cases, death. At that moment, the distant sound of engines announced the arrival of the medical team. Aaron felt a wave of relief course through his body. Help was on the way. While waiting, Aaron continued talking softly to the elephant. To his surprise and excitement, the animal seemed to respond to his presence. Slowly, with a low groan that seemed to come from the depths of his being, the elephant lay down on the ground. Aaron's heart sank at seeing the powerful creature in such a vulnerable state. It was as if the elephant, after hours or perhaps days of lonely suffering, had finally found someone to trust, someone who could ease his pain. Sitting a few meters away from the fallen elephant, Aaron continued his silent vigil. Time seemed to drag by as he awaited the arrival of his colleagues, each second marked by the injured animal's heavy breathing. It was in this moment of stillness that Aaron felt, more than ever, the weight of his responsibility as guardian of these magnificent beings. It wasn't just a job. It was a calling, a sacred mission to protect and preserve life in all its forms. When the medical team finally arrived, they found a scene none of them would ever forget. Aaron sitting peacefully next to the giant elephant, a vivid image of trust and interspecies connection that transcended words. The arrival of the medical team brought a flurry of frenetic activity to the previously tranquil scene. Under Arun's calm but firm leadership, the team quickly mobilized, each member knowing exactly what their role was in this delicate operation. The first challenge was to sedate the elephant, a complicated task due to the animal's size and the need to minimize additional stress. With precise movements born of years of experience, the team's anesthetist prepared the dose, while other members strategically positioned themselves around the fallen elephant. Aaron remained close to the animal's head, murmuring reassuring words as the sedation was administered. Slowly, the elephant's eyes, which had remained fixed on Aaron all this time, began to close. With the elephant sedated, the team was able to take a closer look at the abscess. It was worse than Aaron had initially feared, an infected mass the size of a football, pulsing with pain and heat. It was no wonder the poor animal was in such agony. The treatment was a long and painstaking process. First, the area around the abscess was carefully cleaned and disinfected. Then, with surgical precision, the abscess was drained, releasing an alarming amount of purulent fluid. The team worked tirelessly, cleaning the wound and applying powerful antibiotics to combat the infection. Throughout the procedure, Aaron alternated between assisting his colleagues and monitoring the elephant's vital signs. Every soft moan, every involuntary movement of the animal made his heart tighten. He couldn't help but feel emotionally invested in the outcome. After what seemed like an eternity, the procedure ended. The wound was carefully packed and protected, and a final dose of antibiotics and anti-inflammatories was administered. Now all they could do was wait for the elephant to wake up. The minutes dragged by as the team anxiously watched the gentle giant. Gradually, signs of consciousness began to appear. A slight twitch in the ears, a barely perceptible movement of the trunk. Then, to everyone's relief and joy, the elephant began to wag its tail. Slowly, with surprising grace for a creature of its size, the elephant stood up. The team stepped back respectfully, giving the animal space to orient itself. Arun watched with his heart in his throat, hoping to see some sign that his work had made a difference. Then something happened that no one could have predicted. The elephant, now fully awake, looked around, its intelligent eyes scanning every human face. Then, with deliberate steps, he began walking, not towards the safety of the forest, but directly towards Arun. The team held their breath, fearing the worst. But Arun remained where he was, an inexplicable calm enveloping him. When the elephant reached him, something extraordinary happened. The animal extended its trunk, gently enveloping Arun in a hug that seemed to convey pure gratitude. Time seemed to stop. Tears of emotion ran down the faces of Arun and his colleagues. At that moment, everyone understood the power of compassion and the deep connection that can exist between humans and animals. It was a vivid reminder of why they had chosen this profession. After a few moments that seemed like an eternity, the elephant gently backed away. With a last look that seemed to carry the weight of 1,000 unspoken words, he turned and walked majestically back into the forest, disappearing into the trees. The team remained in reverent silence, each member processing what they had just witnessed. Arun felt a deep sense of accomplishment and humility. This encounter had been about more than just saving an animal. It had been a moment of pure connection between species, a reminder of the sacred responsibility they bore as guardians of wildlife. As the sun set over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Arun and his team returned to base. Their hearts were filled with a renewed appreciation for the wildlife they had sworn to protect. The call of the wild echoed in their souls stronger than ever, a testament to the enduring power of compassion and connection between all living creatures.